But you think of Martin Luther King as a giant of a man, but the one complex he had was a complex about his height. He was really just 5'7", and he was always getting upset with tall people who looked down on him. Now he's 30 feet tall, looking down on everybody. But he'd be the first to tell you that he didn't give his life for a statue. He gave his life for the least of these God's children. And in the middle of the struggle, when we began to work out the problems of militarism and the problems of politics and the dynamics of getting people elected, they changed the rules on us. They changed the rules, and the game is no longer just political. In fact, it's the economics that controls the politics. And people of Atlanta sent me to Congress, and I was there at the scene of the crime when they began to break up an economic order that had been started by Franklin Roosevelt in 1944. In the end of '73, they changed it. And then a little later on, they changed something called Regulation Q. Listen to this now, because this is what puts you out of your house and why your mortgage isn't worth what you paid for it. They changed the rules in the Congress. And then the savings and loans went out of business because they left housing and started building casinos and resorts and everything else. When they went out of business, the commercial banks got into housing. They didn't know anything about housing. They started packaging mortgages in something called derivatives, and they sold them all around the world, and they weren't worth a damn. And then when they went out of business, they called for the government to bail them out. And that wasn't good enough, but there was a regulation called Glass-Steagall that kept commercial banks from messing in the business of investment banks. Republicans changed that. And now the thing is all messed up. The problem in banking and finance is we have too much integration. And nobody really knows what they're doing, and they're doing it in secret, and they're not using their minds, they're using their greedy behinds. Now in Atlanta, we tried to straighten that out a little bit. I'm not against Wall Street. I'm just saying we have to learn the rules and use it to our advantage. Maynard Jackson set up an airport. It's now cost us about $10 million after all of the rest of the mayors. We've had black mayors in Atlanta for 44 years. And we've tried to do things within the economy, and we've been able to generate jobs. The airport costs $10 billion, but it generates $30 billion every year and creates about 60,000 jobs. And Kasim Reed is now adding an international terminal that's probably going to add another 5,000 jobs. I'm saying the system works if you know how to work it. And Martin Luther King gave his life to end poverty. You're not going to end poverty by preaching. You're going to end poverty by learning some economics, by sending your children to school, by saving your money, by getting financially literate. And just like we won the battle of voting rights, we can win the battle of economic rights. And that's what Martin Luther King would have you do now. And the first step to that is to keep a president in office that basically has your interest at heart. And if we don't do that this year, God help us.